Chin Taylor, how are you, mate?
I'm very well, thank you. You?
I'm very well. Now, for those of you who are watching and listening to this, this is a little bit different to what I normally do because you are a YouTuber yourself, Chin, but you're
Yeah.
a chef, aren't you? You actually you run a restaurant or own a restaurant? What is it?
I own a restaurant. Yeah, well, until COVID, it was a restaurant, but now it's a takeaway.
To take away.
Yeah, so
Do that to get around the rules, have you?
yeah, pretty much. It's just easier, to be honest. Yeah.
So now for those of you, it's Zhang's Oriental Workshop, isn't it? Now I'll leave a link to your brilliant YouTube channel. I am a massive fan of your channel, mate. I
Thank
really
you.
am. Now you don't know this because we haven't talked that much, but I'm a big fan, and I've cooked a lot of your stuff.
Have you?
And myself and the girlfriend, even to the point where I've got a video somewhere. I'll probably splice it in here if I can.
Yeah.
Of me actually cooking your curry paste.
See, do you know what? It's really fucking weird to hear people say that you've never met ever in your life. Just to go, we've done your recipes. It's really, really odd. It's nice. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, well, see, the thing is, between you and my fiance's mum, in the last 2 years, you've changed my life. You've certainly changed my diet. If you go back and look at my videos from 2 years ago, I was a lot bigger, a lot spottier, and I looked a lot more unhealthy than I do now. And over the last basically 18 months, what I've done is I've stopped ordering takeaways. Now I cook them in big batches and put them in the freezer. And now I can basically cook. See, the thing is, your spare ribs that you... They're amazing. We'll talk more about this. I cook them up in big batches, like you suggest. I get, how you suggest 1.5 kilos of ribs.
Yeah.
I do 3 kilos at a time now.
Oh, nice.
I do like 7 or 8 batches that I cook, and they are amazing. And the barbecue sauce, honestly, is liquid gold.
Yeah, it really is.
So I want to talk to you about your show, because obviously you do it with your lovely mum.
Yes. Yeah.
Who she's amazing, mate.
She's the reason why I started the show. Because mum is just, well, you've seen mum she's like that in real life.
Yeah.
But I think she's more like that in real life because on the camera she's quite restrained.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can imagine that like 3 or 4 times, she's just amazing. And I knew the world needed to see her.
Absolutely.
But she didn't want to get on camera by herself. So I thought, right, I'll do it. And then our interaction actually ended up working quite well together. So
how long ago did you start it?
Our first ever video was in January, I think was released January 17th, 2017. But then we left the channel because we just started up doing our street food stuff in our first, well, it's not our first, but our first outlet we ever had. Mm-hmm. We had that for 7 years, but we switched from Chinese to street food. And we were concentrating on that for a year, logged back in after about a year of nothing other than, I think it was a sweet and sour sauce video, and found we had 2,000 subscribers.
Right.
So it wasn't until January 2018 that we actually started putting videos out there properly.
How many subscribers you got on YouTube now?
The last check, which I checked literally about 5 minutes ago, was 100,873.
Is it increasing exponentially as well? Is it getting...
No, it's not. I'm really shocked because I thought that when I reached like milestone marks, like 50,000, like 1,000, 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, that all of a sudden it just picks up. But for us, it's been like completely almost arbitrary numbers. It's been all of a sudden we were on 23,000, and then it jumped to 34 within 5 days, and then just stopped again. Yeah. And then we get like 20 a day for 2 months, and then all of a sudden it jumps. And I really can't figure out what is going on. It just doesn't make sense. There's no sort of, when I look at the analytics, there's no pattern behind it. It just seems to be when and whenever it happens.
Yeah, I can't figure it out. I mean, I do the news, and
Yeah,
unfortunately, I do the news truthfully, which means that
yeah,
Google will not show my channel to anybody.
yeah,
I think I've been sort of blacklisted on it, but I mean, this goes out on Spotify and iTunes and everything as well, so there'll be plenty of places for people to find it.
yeah,
But you're right. There's no rhyme or reason. I got to the stage in, I think in middle of last year when, things were really going well for me and I was putting on 2,000-3,000 subscribers a month. And then all of a sudden just cut, my legs were cut from underneath me. Why did you go back to the channel? Was it sort of like, were you going to do something, like added on to the restaurant, or were you going to try and, because obviously you've got the book out as well. I bought my girlfriend your book for Christmas, believe it or not.
Yeah.
She hasn't cooked me anything out of it yet.
It's good that it's there.
Yeah, I do all the Chinese cooking. I can't quite. That's what you get from buying your girlfriend a cookbook for Christmas.
Brilliant. But yeah,
have you like, was your mum and your family, were they always in the restaurant business and you were born into it, were you?
Well, because I'm half English, half Chinese, my dad's side of the family has never been in a Chinese takeaway.
Mm-hmm.
But my mum's side, we've got we can trace back 5 generations of like street food chefs. So
right.
My great granddad started doing street food after he was a pig farmer, believe it or not, but he left China basically to get away from communism ages ago, and then when they settled in Malaysia, and then they started doing street food over there, and my family still do street food over there.
When you say street food, what do you mean by street food? Because
like like Malaysian street food is kind of like, I don't know if you've heard of it, like nasi goreng, char kway teow. It's very much a fusion between Indian, like traditional Indian food, and Chinese. It's really odd. So you get a lot of noodle dishes, right, but they've always got like a spice or a curry sort of hint to them. A lot of lemongrass, almost Thai-ish, but not Thai. It's difficult to describe unless you're eating it, and then I'm not describing it. You're just chewing some food. I can't. It's to articulate the flavors is really difficult because it's not like a cuisine that is anywhere else, if that makes sense.
Is it like is it like a mobile thing that you've got that does it, or is it just a YouTube channel? Is it just what is it that you do this street food with? Because obviously you got the restaurant itself, haven't you? That you say is a takeaway. Is it sort of, are you doing both with the same business?
Used to, like I said, till COVID, but Mum actually runs a street food small outlet down in a place called Porlock Weir. My restaurant is literally 5 miles up the road from there, but her food sells out. Like, we used to do basically the same thing, and we'd sell out every day. In the summers we'd have if you wanted to sit in on a Friday or Saturday night, there was a 4-week waiting list. And just weekdays you'd have to book within like 8 days advance.
And that was like last year. I mean, I'm assuming
that was last year, yeah. And then all of a sudden it changed. Well, it's because in terms of the restaurant business, it's my restaurant is now taking sort of, I'd say 40% of what it should have been doing over the summer. Mum's surprisingly, I think nearly, I'd say it's taking 30% more than it normally does, because where we are, it's very touristy. Yeah. And the second everyone was allowed back out, they all basically flocked down here, which has obviously its pros and cons, but it was really good for Mum's business. Mm-hmm. Terrible for mine because I couldn't have people sitting in, because hers is more of a takeaway.
Yeah.
And it's really scenic, so people really want to go down. There's a lot of history down Porlock Weir.
Did you sort of have to move over to the takeaway side of things? Did you have to shift your business towards that thing when COVID hit? Did you have to
Yeah,
shift more that way?
yeah, 100%. I even changed my menu. Like beforehand, like I said before, we weren't doing Chinese takeaway food. We actually stopped that because to do it the way we want to do it costs far too much that people are willing to pay. People, when they get Chinese food, they just want to pay £6, and even that's expensive for chow mein. But to do it the way we traditionally do it or would do it, we'd have to charge like £8.50 to make a margin of like 66%, which is like the lowest margin you should really be getting in food. So we went to the street food instead, and then COVID hit. So I literally had to go. I can't. Mum closed down basically until everything started back up. But because I had a massive restaurant and staff to pay, I thought I'm not going to furlough anyone. I'm just going to keep people on and then change my business model.
Mm-hmm.
Because I couldn't get any of the fresh spices, but I knew I could get the Chinese takeaway stuff.
Yeah.
So I just went, fuck it, let's go back to Chinese takeaway, make it really cheap for the moment, get money coming in, and it worked quite well, actually.
How many? Like, I mean, you've obviously managed to get through it. I'm assuming it's bloody. It's things are tight like they are for everybody. But I mean, there's going to be thousands up and down the country that just haven't are not going to be able to get through this, aren't they, Chin?
Yeah, but it's an odd one because I know this isn't like a normal recession we're going through, but historically in recessions, takeaways actually do quite well because people don't want to go out to eat in a restaurant because it's too expensive, but they'll quite happily go to a fish and chip or pick up a cheap Chinese as the weekend treat. So they don't normally suffer too badly. Having said that, though, I know a couple of people that are struggling. I'm quite lucky as well because I try to capitalize on YouTube and give like the products, like all this stuff here.
Yeah.
The Chinese takeaways use and that you can't buy in a supermarket online.
Yeah, there's actually some ingredients in your spare ribs, for instance. It's the Lee Kum stuff. It's like the crushed bean and crushed red bean. It's really difficult to get up here in the Midlands anyway. So I had to. I forgot what I don't think I put I've put the crushed yellow bean. Although I've managed to get some now. I think we got it from your. I think we might have got it from your place, to be honest.
Really?
But I just substituted something for the crushed red bean, and it was if you've ever had, to anybody listening to this, if you go to Chin's channel, click the link underneath and click on and try and find it. In fact, I'll put the link below to your spare ribs. I've cooked them about 4 times now, mate, and like I say, I love Chinese food. I used to, 2 years ago, I would have at least one takeaway a week, Friday, Saturday. It was sort of like, it's the tradition. And since I've started cooking in batches, since I found your channel and basically what it is, I got engaged and we found that me and the girlfriend started enjoying cooking. And we did the curry paste, like you say. We've tried your Singapore fried noodles. I think we've done the pancake rolls. We did some of the really quite technical stuff we've done. You lay it down in your videos, and you do it brilliantly, and it's all done with a laugh and a tongue in cheek. You and your mom, you're constantly taking the piss out of your mom, which I love, and she just goes straight over her head. She doesn't remember doing it. I love it. And like I say, I make up 6 or 7 batches, and it's got to the stage now where I've made like curry, fried rice, chips, etc. I can make it now from my freezer quicker than a takeaway can deliver. It costs about 20% of what I would cost at a takeaway and tastes 3 times as good. That is how good your stuff is. I can't say any better than that.
Thank you.
When COVID hit, I did a lockdown, cook along a curry with me lockdown sort of thing. And I just, I don't think we'd done your paste by then, or we'd done it, and I hadn't quite figured out how to mix it, with the MSG and whatever to get the MSG and whatever. So I just used, the goldfish curry sauce. I just
Yeah,
need
that's
that
really good.
spicy.
It's really good.
Just half and half normal, half spicy, and it's so quick to make. And honestly, I really, for anybody who can't get down to your restaurant and cook your food, then just follow it along on YouTube. You will not. I can't promise you enough. You will not regret it. The girlfriend and I, like I said, my freezer's full with stuff I've pre-cooked from basically recipes that I don't, cook it exactly to what but that's how I start. And it's like anything, you add your own touches and that sort of thing. Precisely. I can't stress it enough. And especially one of the reasons why I did it was because obviously lockdown came and looks like we're heading that way again, doesn't it?
Yeah, fucking does, yeah.
We'll talk about that in a minute. And the more, I think the more we learn in the coming years, not just to cook ourselves, but to cook wholesome food with good ingredients, the better we're going to be. Because I really do think that we're in for a radical change over the next few years, especially with factory farming, etc., and how bad it is for the planet. And obviously, instructional videos like yours go a hell of a long way to helping people, eat healthier as well. I know it's Chinese food, but it's not full of salt, is it? It's full of MSG.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like anything in life, most things in moderation aren't going to be too bad for you, are they? And like you said, there's quite a lot of sugar in some of these, but you don't have to put that much sugar and adapt it to your own needs. Do you know what I mean?
Put a whole bag of sugar in their spare ribs the last time I cooked them, mate. 3
kilos.
Yeah,
I mean, the spare ribs do need a lot of sugar because without it, they're not the same.
3 kilos of ribs, a whole bag went in the pot. Sugar. I was like, oh well, it goes in. They're the best. Everybody who's tasted them has said it's the best curry I've ever tasted, best spare ribs, best curry they've ever tasted. Barbecue.
Good. It's weird people saying that to me as well. It's a bit embarrassing because, like, to us, that's another thing. Because to me, it's just natural because I've always done it, and to hear people say that is a bit embarrassing. Like, it makes me go a bit red.
Shouldn't be embarrassing, mate. That's what you do.
I know, but it's just to me. I say this all the time to people, but to me, I can't explain it because it comes naturally to me. When people say, "Oh, it's really good," I find it really. I'm not very good at taking compliments. I think that's what it is, really.
You should be like me, mate. Bring them on. Compliment me. Say good things. If we go into lockdown? What's your plan then? Are you going to have to close, or because obviously, I don't know what the rules are. Whereabouts in the country? Are you down south? You'll probably be okay when you're down south. They leave that open, don't know.
Yeah, southwest. Where I don't know if you've ever heard of Minehead before. We're really
I know where Minehead. It was a Butlins thing, wasn't it?
That's it. But my takeaway should still be able to stay open because when we had the full scale lockdown, I was still allowed to trade because it was a takeaway food. But Mum did close, and she would close this time, but it's coming to the time of year where she'd be closing anyway. Right. It's very, very seasonal. I mean, the population is so transient. In the summer, it's 10,000, and in the winter, it's 1,000.
Yeah, I can imagine it's a bit of a touristy town, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I plan to operate as normal. The online web store is allowed to trade because it's trading food. So I'm lucky in that sort of sense that I can still keep going because there's a lot of people who aren't going to be able to keep going.
Yeah, and not just in your trade, in multiple trades. There's a lot of people. Yeah. I think Gordon Ramsay and that tosser and
that tosser.
What's his name? Jamie Oliver.
Jamie Oliver.
They were saying that the good restaurants will survive and the bad ones won't. That's what they're saying that will happen. Do you agree with that?
100%. I think. Yeah, I mean that's what I was having this conversation with someone the other day, and I said the people who can survive now are going to reap the rewards when everything, if it ever goes back to normal, because they're the ones who are going to have the good product, whether it's good food or if it's good. A lot of the time, it's good service, so they could get the product out on time, and it's consistent. Those are the people that are going to survive, and that will sculpt the whole food industry after that. You're not going to be able to get away with just providing cheap shit because you live in an area where there's loads of people, and you're just working on the fact that random people are going to come in once in their lifetime. That's going to be gone, because people are going to be more discerning as well. Like you said, with YouTube, more people are staying at home learning how to cook. Why do you want, Gordon Ramsay says it all the time, why do you want to go out and pay for food that you can make better and cheaper at home? So I reckon, like you said, it's only the very best that will survive in my eyes.
The reason I don't order Chinese anymore is because I can cook it quicker than it can be delivered now, because especially if I've got it pre-frozen, and it costs, like I say, 20% of the price, and it is 3 times better. It really is, it's that good. And I'm a bit of a connoisseur with Chinese food, and I've loved all of my life. I've loved, I will try out new Chinese restaurants, especially when I'd move into a new area. I'd like get all the menus from within like a 5 mile and try and get the best Chinese, because it sounds terrible, but finding a good Chinese restaurant, a good Chinese takeaway, is a really hit and miss these days, especially up here in the Midlands. People can't cook a curry.
You know why that is? It's because back in the 1950s, or actually when Chinese first turned up, in the 1940s, like seriously started spreading across the country, they were all sort of chefs beforehand. And then they passed them down to their kids in like the 70s, who then carried them on all the way up until probably the late 90s. And if you're lucky, most of them, some of them carried into the early 2000s, but now they've all retired. Their kids don't want that business, because food is fucking hard work to make any good money off. You're working 16 hours a day, 6 days a week, and your day off is doing stock runs for your takeaway.
Yeah, my brother has been in the catering business. He's had like pubs with restaurants and even like rooms, etc. And his day off was doing the cash and carry.
Exactly, it's exactly it. And the kids, they go, well, why do I want to do that when I can go become a professional something? So that's what they go do. And so then they sell their takeaways to literally successful builders or business people in China. They come over here and they go through sort of 3 months of working with the people that owned it before, learning how to cook, and then it's up to them whether they listen to that or decide their bottom line isn't low enough and start skimping out on stuff. And that's what happens. And that's why Chinese takeaways in England have suffered so much, because they just don't give a fucking shit.
I'm so glad you agree with that, because I mean I'm getting on for like half a century now, believe it or not. I'm 46. So I've been eating curries over 3 decades, and Chinese curries over 3 decades, and they're getting worse. They're not getting better. And I'm so glad you agree with that. Do you think it's all because people just want the profit now, and they're skimping on the ingredients, and they're just providing cheap shit en masse rather than actually, because you can see when you watch you and your mom cook, you really love it. You love what you do, and it's in your blood.
Yeah, it's a mixture of 2 things, like. You still get a Chinese takeaway that's family owned, and they're still quite good, but it's not as good as it would have been like 20 years ago. It's because it goes back to that thing of people aren't willing to pay the money for something that is, in their eyes, should be cheap. So they have to kind of skimp where they can in order to, like I said before, one of the reasons we don't do it is because we actually did decide to go and do a takeaway, and we decided, we're not going to compromise. We're going to do it exactly how we wanted it, and we weren't that much more expensive. I reckon we were about 20% more expensive than everywhere else, and our margin, I think, was about 55%, which is really low. And the amount of irate phone calls we got, the genuine abuse, and the racist abuse. Fucking Chinese food shouldn't be fucking this expensive. What the fuck, blah, 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 blah. And so we just thought, you know what, fuck that. Fuck you. we're going to go and do what we actually want to do, which is the street food, which is what we're actually more versed in, to be honest. Me and Mum actually go back and cook in our family kitchens back there, in their street food restaurants and stuff like that. So we thought, fuck it, we're going to go down that route. And people don't mind paying the actual money when you say street food. But if I said it's Chinese street food, they'd want it cheap. Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it is weird. It's because yeah, they fucking are. Yes, they are. Not all of them. I'm going to say not all of them.
No, yeah, not all of them, but some of them are. And I've listened to your videos. Every time you drop a video, me and the girlfriend, we sit down and watch it. We can't wait. Whenever you drop a video, we look forward to it. And you always mention the tosses in the comments, mate. You always mention you do quite often. You've really got to stop reading stop paying attention to the trolls, mate.
I really, the thing is though, I actually
can't help it, can you?
I fucking love it. I love. Also, I kind of do it because with YouTube, they really like engagement, and I know if I comment on something, I'm going to get someone saying, "Oh, you shouldn't say that. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that," and that does help out our analytics quite a bit. But at the same time, I do really enjoy the conflict. I'm not going to lie; it's really fun, and I really do. Especially when they're being complete arseholes for no reason, I do enjoy it. But I also hate it that people let people get away with saying shit and not have a outcome of it. The society we got at the moment is very much like, you do something really bad, you just get a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
Well, you're just encouraging people to be twats and get away with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm worried about that side of thing at the moment, Jim, because I look at social media, and how many people do you know, for instance, who don't talk to anybody at all during the day, but talk to everybody on social media? I know people who will literally go days without talking to a single person, but they're online constantly, always talking to random people online.
Yeah.
And this is not breeding a healthy society, because I mean, conversing over social media, and especially Twitter, 280 characters, and it's the worst way to communicate. I mean, on Twitter, you are literally talking at people.
Yeah.
That's at Gordon Dimmack. It's not a good way to communicate. And I feel as we've moved over to social media, we've given assholes a green light to be assholes.
Yeah.
And it's sort of causing a real problem in society, in that people don't communicate anymore. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast and just talk to people, because I'm fed up of just trying to explain myself in 280 fucking characters to an idiot.
Yeah. But I mean, I know exactly what you mean. And do you know what? It's getting worse now. Like 3 years ago when we first started on social media stuff and doing this kind of thing, it wasn't so bad. But now, I wouldn't say relentless. But I'm not so sure if that's just because of the whole COVID thing. It could be. This year especially has been quite relentless. I don't think it is.
I think COVID accelerated it, mate, because everybody went home, and that's all they were doing all day then, was on social media and watching Netflix. So I think it accelerated things. But you know, let's face it, we were heading this way for a long way, for a long time, and really social media's got a hell of a lot to blame for that. Which is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this channel, and to try and, you know, talk to people like you, rather than, you know, have a little, you know, trying to explain things in a few tweets is not going to lead to a society that actually, you know, works with each other and evolves, and, you know, is good for everybody. It's going to leave shitloads of people behind, and that's what we've seen. So I wanted to talk to you about that anyway, because I know that you really do like have some fun with the trolls.
Yeah.
And I started doing it when I had my channel. And I would start, what I found myself doing was I would go into the comments. I don't know whether you see this, but I would end up only commenting on the assholes' comments.
Yeah.
And the people who were leaving good comments, which was 95% of the people who were commenting on my channel, I was ignoring them so I could go to the bad people. And it's like, well, then I'm incentivizing them to say bad stuff, aren't I?
Yeah, you are. You really are. But yeah, at the same time, though, Google doesn't care if it's negative. Oh, Google. I mean, YouTube is owned by Google, but they don't. They really don't give a shit if it's negative or not. They only see engagement, and that's only a good thing for you. Like that way I do it in my head. Like they think they're getting into my head, but actually in my head, I'm thinking you're genuinely helping my channel out. So thank you very much for that. And but I was also going to say, I always reply to any comment that comes on my channel, good or negative. I just feel that if people are taking the time to out of their day to comment, even if it is negative, I'll always reply back with at least a thank you. I just feel it's a nice little touch.
I had a similar. I went the other way. I went the opposite way. I was like, well, if I'm only commenting and it's the people who are putting negative comments that I'm concentrating on, then I shouldn't be commenting at all, because then it's not fair on anybody who does. You know, obviously people send me emails, I try and respond to them, although, you know, there's not enough time in the day sometimes. I want to talk to you about your book. How did the sales of your book going? Because I know you had a bit of a problem with that. I mean, at the beginning, in December.
Well, I had the first run done, and then we were getting low on the first one, so I think I had like 200 books left, and that's it. I'm ordering the second print run. The day I ordered it, because I got it printed in China, China went into lockdown, and because I obviously put an email out about 2 days before that saying just about the place to order, orders going in, order went in, lockdown, and then these people who pre-ordered, and quite rightly so, they were a bit pissed off. But it's not like I wasn't keeping them informed or anything, and it wasn't my fault that the factory just shut.
We got the book before Christmas, so if it.
You got the first run.
I got the first.
Yours would say first edition on, because the others say revised edition. So yeah, you got the OG one right there.
Got the OG, mate.
Yeah.
I told you I was a big fan. I told you I was a big fan.
You've been a fan for a while then. But and then we finally managed to get them, and then to beat it this time, just in case we went into another lockdown, I ordered 4,000. So I got 4,000 sitting downstairs in the warehouse. But total sales, I've sold about 4,300 now. So
I'm glad it's going really well, mate, because you really enjoy it. And one of the things that I really love is that you really do talk about the quality of your ingredients as well. That you're saying that your Chinese, your food was a little bit expensive than most Chinese's, and it's not surprising, because I mean, you know, for instance, the ribs. I've tried them both ways. I've tried the thick ribs and the normal, you know, ribs from the supermarket, and it's night and day really with the quality of the meat that you're getting. Yeah. It's worth it. Obviously, if you're cooking for yourself, it's well worth getting the good stuff, because it's still going to be half as cheap as a Chinese anyway. You know, that are using the crappy meat. What are you going to do if this lockdown happens in the next couple of weeks? Are you just going to close? I mean, do you furlough people then? You know, obviously you've got staff as well. How have they been handling all this through it?
They've been okay, because what I've been doing is, like, the profits from the online sales and stuff, I just funnel back into the restaurant to keep the people into jobs. Technically a business move. It's not smart, but I'm more about looking after the people that look after me than going, right, we're gonna shut down, and you know, you're gonna only get like 60% of your wage or whatever. So I'd rather just give them jobs and a chance to leave their house really, and have a focus in life, than just shut down. If I'm honest, even if it costs me a little bit, there's so much I can like dig into my own pocket, and will dig into my own pocket, to keep that sort of side afloat. I also think that builds a little bit of loyalty as well.
Yeah, it's really good. And obviously I feel really really, I mean, you might have seen the government poster the other day of some ballerina that they were saying that she's got to retrain as some cyber or something like that, because the government are obviously priming people that, you know, jobs are going to be different in the new normal that is coming.
Yeah.
We're all going to have to, I suppose, bend a little, aren't we, and be a little bit flexible in what we do going forward, because things are going to be different. I know people keep saying they don't want them to be, and the new normal is we've got to resist it. Where do you stand on it? Because I think we can't continue doing what we're doing. You mentioned cheap shit there, and earlier on, and how people are just doing massive, you know, selling masses of cheap shit, you know, and funneling it down our throats like we're gannets. I mean, we can't. There's what, 8 billion of us on this planet now. We can't continue doing this. I mean, sooner or later we're going to run out of space for the chickens to shit in, aren't we?
Well, when I did my degree in uni, we had an ecological chapter, not chapter, what are they called? I can't remember. Module. Chapter. Module. And they talked about, this was 15 years ago now, and 15 years ago, to feed the amount of people that we had on the planet, which was about 6.8 billion or something like that then, we needed 1.5 Earths. There wasn't enough arable land to feed everyone as it was then. So we're already in a losing situation as it is. It's difficult. I mean, we can talk about trying to feed everyone. We're never going to be able to. That's the literal fact of the matter.
Do you like input where you get your ingredients from? Is it imported or is it British that you buy? I mean, I'm sure a lot of the ingredients are going to be imported because they're Oriental, aren't they?
Well, you'd be surprised at how much of that stuff is actually made in the UK. I think the only thing, let me just check quickly. Check the black bean.
That's the stuff I've just bought, I think. Oh no, it's red.
So this is a sauce that's made up. That one is product of Netherlands.
Right.
So yeah, that's from the Netherlands, that one. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting it to say China on the back. But yeah, that was made in the Netherlands. So yeah, I think a lot of imported stuff is going to go up quite drastically.
Yeah, the imported is. I can see it going. I mean, I'm really worried about the state of the economy, etc., going forward, and I think we're in for a rough ride over the coming years. So the more people are going to have to start learning to cook again, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you were saying earlier, really, is the fact that people are going to be sitting at home and they're going to have to learn to cook. You're not going to be able to easily go down to a shop now and get, well, I say now, but possibly in a couple of years' time, it'll be difficult even to get a ripe tomato. So they're going to have to learn how to get stuff that we can get in England seasonally.
Do you make sure all your meat is homegrown?
In our restaurants, Mum does. Mine's Chinese takeaway, so no. But I make sure it's not battery farmed or stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's not UK. Beef is UK, actually. That's a lie. Beef is UK.
Have you seen any change in people's what people are ordering over the years? Obviously, I know you've gone between like the street food and the Chinese, but have you seen a difference in a difference in what we are ordering? Are we ordering more crappy food, or what do you think?
Yeah, when I was growing up in the takeaways, it was always chicken fried rice, beef curry. I mean, this was literally 80% of the orders. Portion of chips, sweet and sour chicken balls, and a jumbo pancake roll. You could pretty much guarantee that's what a family of 3 or 4 were going to order on a Friday night or a Saturday night. Nowadays, you see people ordering main dishes, and that's about it. So they're way more, people now are way more traveled, aren't they? And they're way more adventurous. So they they do go for like the spicier options, things that they probably would never have tried 10 years ago, Kung Po and stuff like that. But they don't order like fried rice anymore because they can do that at home, if that makes sense.
Your fried rice.
They'd rather save the money and order an extra main and just put an Uncle Ben's rice in the, the microwave stuff. And that's, do you know how many people have said that they do that? I'm just like, oh God.
Like I said, there were two reasons my diet has changed in the last 2 years, and one is you and your mum and your channel, and the other is my girlfriend's mum, because I can't give the recipe away because she'll kill me, but she taught me how to cook rice. I always screwed it up, and it's really, really simple to get. She taught me how to cook it, and now I cook rice at least twice a week, and I make sure whenever I cook it, I put some in the fridge for the next day, because it's so simple. Your fried rices, you just add a little bit of MSG, a little bit of salt, a little bit of soy sauce, and obviously whisk an egg up, fry that in the pan, dump your rice in there, and literally 2 minutes later, you've got, I'm not kidding you guys, for people listening to this, I'll leave the link. It's the best fried rice you will ever taste.
It's all right, yeah.
It's great, and you do see, you don't like it because you don't like the compliments, but it really is. I call it super rice.
That's cool. That's quite cool.
Well,
that's a cool name for it. Super rice.
My future mother-in-law's name is Sue, so it's super rice. That's why I call it.
Nice.
But it's changed my life, Chin. You're changing people's hearts and lives there. This is how good the work is that you're doing. You don't understand it, mate.
That's honestly
I'm throwing the compliments at you now because I know you're getting it down.
I'll just leave for a bit. But it is fucking crazy. It is honestly, I can't even articulate that into words sometimes. It's just mind blowing.
Well, you know what? People hearing this will know what I'm talking about. When you order from a courier, from a Chinese, it takes 45 minutes to come here to get to you, and the rice has probably been sitting there 30 minutes before the driver even bloody got it in his car, etc. Especially at most. And I could literally do it in 5 minutes now. I could go in there and cook fried rice and have it like, there you go. There's a plate of fried rice, the best you will ever, or egg fried rice, the best that people will ever taste. And one of the reasons why I wanted to get you on and talk to you is because I want to try and if I convince one person to start cooking Chinese rather than ordering it, I think I will have done exactly what I wanted to do, because I know how much of a difference it's changed my life. And I know how much, I mean, I'm skint anyway. I've got no money at all, but if with lockdown happening and my money's gone through the floor, but with lockdown, I literally wouldn't be able to order Chinese anymore. So I have to cook it. And I learned how to do it. It wasn't by necessity last year. I'm so glad it did, because I wouldn't have got through this lockdown, I think, without you.
That's really I hate people when people say that, but that's actually quite humbling.
You were interviewed by the BBC, weren't you?
Yes, I was. Yes, I was.
Did they call you into the studio, you and your mum?
Yeah, we went into that was a bit surreal. I wasn't expecting it to be, because it's BBC Somerset. In my head, okay, I get it's BBC, but I wasn't expecting it to be like the cockpit of the fucking Starship Enterprise inside. There were lights, there was the dashboards that were flashing, and I honestly couldn't believe how much technology was in that booth. It was insane.
Mate, they need all the blinking lights to pump out that propaganda at 24/7. Yeah, you realise how big that operation needs to be, don't you?
Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, I just couldn't believe it. I was expecting. Pardon?
Was it a good interview? Was it good? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I did enjoy it, but that was my first ever interview, so I was really, really nervous in that. Like, I'm quite nervous now. My mouth's really dry. But
mine too. But that's because I'm stoned.
Nice.
My audience will tell you, I'm not joking.
That's brilliant. Yeah,
But what are you going to focus on? Are you just going to, because obviously there's only so many, I suppose there's only so many meals you can cook on YouTube, isn't there? Have you got any plans to do anything? Are you going to do any live cook along things or anything like that?
Yeah, this Friday actually we got one coming up, which is we're doing duck chow mein, which is a live cook along. Well, not really cook along. We're more revealing what duck they use in a Chinese takeaway, and then we're going to do a few more cook alongs more often. But you've also got to think that Chinese takeaway cooking is regional.
Mm-hmm.
So there's loads of different variations of every single dish we can still put videos up for. Then we actually want to, and have been asked on multiple occasions by a lot of people, to start doing traditional Chinese street food, Chinese food, and the Malay food that we do as well. So we've basically got within my lifetime, we'll never cover everything.
So you're not gonna run out of videos to be able to record.
No way.
That's good, because from me, I mean, I've only probably had that when you mentioned the what things were like, in the 70s, beef curry, some prawn balls. Basically, that's all I've had from the Chinese. I've just had those 5 or 6 main dishes, and that's what I so I will just carry on just eating those, I suppose. I mean, it's quite amazing. If you would have asked me 2 years ago, because I've always enjoyed cooking, I've just following a recipe, but if you'd have asked me 2 years ago, would I be cooking Chinese food regularly and well, I would have been no. I'd just go to a Chinese up the road. But I swear by it now. I really do. I swear by it.
One of the things that does irritate me about the Chinese community is that they don't tell you can do it at home, and they say you have to have this massive wok burner. You have to have a wok, for example. But I can cook on a halogen. I can cook chow mein on a halogen. What's it called? Worktop, whatever they're called. Hob. Mm-hmm. That's the word. Halogen hob and a frying pan, and I'll get it to taste like a chow mein. It's all you have to do is know how to use the heat, and that's it. And then when someone tells you that, you'll know that for life.
What do you mean by using the heat?
So there's a lot of Chinese not all of them, but a lot of Chinese takeaways. Chow mein will taste like charred.
Yeah.
So that is because obviously when they're doing it, they've got these 45 kilowatt wok burners that can char it really fucking quick.
Right.
You can do that on a halogen hob. It just means you've got to let that noodle sit rather than 10 seconds for 2.5 minutes on one side, and be patient. Then flip it over, and then you've got your char. Do you know what I mean? It's not.
You just can't do it. So, those burners, those are like.
Yeah.
I've seen them. Yeah, they look really, really hot. My brother said he used to cook on those things, and they're rapid.
They are rapid.
Because I will say this, because of you say you could cook on anything. When I first started cooking your stuff, I just, it was a cheap £4 wok that I think I'd bought from Morrison's or something like that I'd got 2 years. Once I started to get serious, I actually went on your website, and you've got some links to Amazon products that you
yeah.
And there's a wok that you recommend. It was quite expensive. It was like 25 quid, and I say that's quite expensive. I don't know. I mean, but my woks are usually £4 from Morrison's, and it was one of those ones that you had to seal.
Yeah, that is the one that they will actually use in a Chinese takeaway. That's why I put it on there. We use them at home sometimes, but normally we actually use non-stick when we're cooking at home. If we're cooking on gas, because at home I've got an induction cooker.
Mm-hmm.
We're cooking on gas, we'll use the wok that you have, which is I think a carbon steel one, and you have to season it.
Yeah, you had to season it. You had to burn. I mean, it was difficult to burn it on a gas cooker. You really need to do what I do on one of those, like you say, one of those flamers from a proper Chinese restaurant. But it does make a difference. It's a lot easier to cook, and obviously with it being a big wok as well, you can make more portions.
Yeah, way more portions, and it's way more fun using a wok than it is a saucepan.
It really is. It's a lot of fun. And I have impressed a few people with your food, mate. I got to admit.
That's cool. That's really cool.
What's was going to do. What's next step? Are you going to release another book? Are you on your street food? Because obviously on the book that you released, it was all Chinese food in there, wasn't it?
Yeah, it is. Well, I'm writing 3 books at the moment, and I'm not sure which one I'm going to release. Pardon?
3.
Yeah, 3. I've got. Well,
aren't you busy?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I tend to not, because I can't sleep very well. I tend to just do things, and I don't know what. I just can't sleep very well. But so I literally sleep like 3-4 hours a day, and then I'm fine for the rest of the day. But so I'm basically doing a vegan vegetarian version of the cookbook I have at the moment, right, okay, which actually is harder than I thought it was going to be.
You're vegan, aren't you?
No.
You're vegetarian?
No, I eat meat a lot. In fact, I don't really like vegetables. I was vegan for a month for a bet, and everyone everyone thinks that I'm a vegan because of it. And I did at the end of the video, if you notice, I go, I'm vegan for a bet, but no one ever hears the bet. No, they only hear I'm a vegan because they instantly want to hate me. So they go, oh, I'm not going to watch this anymore. And everyone thinks I'm a vegan, but I'm not. It was just because one of my mates went, there's no way on earth you couldn't eat meat for a month. I went, fuck off. Yeah, that'd be easy. And it was easy, but it wasn't nice.
So you're not vegan. That's totally wrong. You just did it for a bit. I never heard that. Yeah. I just thought you were vegetarian. I thought, how could you be vegetarian and cook all that amazing food?
Yeah, no, I'm not a vegetarian in any way, shape, or form. In fact, after that bet, I went to KFC and ate about 2.5 buckets of meat.
KFC, I can't believe it. Amazing chef, and you're going to KFC. I'm going to talk to you about your mum, mate.
Yeah, of course.
She's the most amazing character on YouTube, I think.
She is. Well, I don't know about YouTube. Even though I'm on YouTube, I don't really get the time to watch it. That's just TV in general. So, but Mum, I think, is probably up there. There's something about her that's it's innocence yet wisdom at the same time. It's really odd combination of the two things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I totally get it. I've showed you videos to loads of things, and all people ever say whenever they see her is, "I love her."
Yeah, people often ask if they can adopt her.
I'm not surprising. She's just, it must have been so amazing, growing up, not just in the atmosphere and in the cooking atmosphere and what have you, but she's so passionate about food as well. And you can see even when she eats it at the end when you're eating it, she's enjoying it way more than you are.
Yeah, fully. But I think that's because Mum forgets we're on camera. Like when the camera goes off, maybe I should leave it running one day. Like me and Mum's faces are in the bowls like that, finishing off the food. But because I'm aware we're on camera, I'm saying all this stuff, and Mum's just in a world of her own, enjoying the food. But it works so well every time as well, because people expect that from Mum, and it's exactly what she's doing. It's not like an act or anything. She's literally just gone, I really don't care what's happening here right now. This is more important.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about. You get to the end and you're tasting the food and you're asking her questions, and half the time she's just ignoring you because she's loving the food. What you're gonna close the restaurant for winter, you say, or is it you're just gonna slow down?
Yeah, I closed the shop for winter. Sorry, hold on. I'm gonna turn that round. Can you see that out there?
What is it?
It looks like a UFO. No way, is that a UFO?
What is it?
Can you see it? Can you see how slow that's moving?
What?
Can you actually see that?
I can see something, but what is it, mate?
I don't. Sorry, I'll come back. Did we just live capture a UFO?
I'll go back and I'll look at that. Well, we've recorded it, so...
It's still there, though. Do you know, we're facing the Bristol Channel and we're renowned for having UFO signs around here, but I've never seen one. That is moving... It definitely wasn't an aeroplane, was it?
I don't know. It could have been a helicopter, I suppose.
No, because I know what... That was really big, and we get helicopters all the time. It's not moving like a helicopter either. And you can hear them.
I'm going to drop the video like this. Everybody will freak out. They'll all say, you know, maybe it'll go viral. Two guys talking about cooking, and then
a UFO. That's insane. It's still there. No, it's gone. Oh, it's gone somewhere.
Off into the distance.
That was bizarre. I'm so glad that happened when someone else was here. Well, when the camera was on.
Oh well, we'll see. Well, it's 3:51 on the 14th of October, so we'll see if anybody else spots it over. Where is it over? Where is it you're over?
Minehead.
Over Minehead. So there you go. Did anybody see a UFO over Minehead at 10 to 4 on the 14th of October?
That'll be interesting. Anyway, that was what?
Totally threw me there, mate.
Through me, I was looking at it, thinking, "What on earth is that?"
Yeah, when are you shutting down for winter?
I shut
touristy area.
Yeah, I shut down for 1 week in November. That's just mine and my fiance's week off because it's her birthday weekend as well. So we shut down for a week then. And normally, I like to give my team Christmas and New Year's off, so we close for 2 weeks over Christmas and New Year's when most people stay open, but I'd like to keep them happy. And then probably from the end of January to the end of February we'll be closed. Yeah.
And that's sort of your, I suppose, is that when you do, you know, all your YouTube videos and more filming?
That's when we try and get a load done in one go. So we normally get about 20 and release them over the year. Getting any more done, as you know, editing can be a bit of a ball ache, especially if you've got a fine edit, like go back and clip out things that are, you want in, and then you've got to justify whether it's in there or not. That whole process, as you're well aware, takes fucking forever, and no one can quite grasp that until you start doing it.
Yeah. When I first started doing this, especially when I was doing clips and little stories, etc., and really was more of a news channel, 90% of my time was editing and waiting for the goddamn Adobe thing to, you know, render and stuff like that. It was an absolute ball ache, and it's so refreshing now. I've got this Zoom, I can just record it and then just post it. It takes so much less time with the with editing and what have you. But obviously you've got to do that. That's your videos. I can get away with it, but I moved away from that on purpose, mate. It drove me mad. Do you throw the computer out the window like I do and start shouting at it like it's a person?
I used to. In fact, I did pick up a laptop and throw it across the room once because it used to do this thing where it would render 99% and then stop at the last 1%, and it did it about 3 times in a row. And that doesn't sound too bad, but I promised the video was meant to be up the next day, and it just wouldn't work. So I just thought, fuck it, I'm tired, it's 5:30 in the morning. I just basically threw the computer across the room and went to bed and apologized for it in the morning. But yeah, it's just, and that's another thing, is when you give yourself a deadline, everything seems to go fucking wrong when you go, oh, tomorrow it'll be out. It won't upload. Won't upload, and you have no idea why. It just fucking won't work.
I've done that. I've had exactly that, and I've had situations where I've totally screwed everything up, gone live, and I've got no sound. I remember the once I had a great journalist come on a live show. I was doing a live show, and she came on, and I couldn't get any sound through the computer, so everybody were totally pissed off with me. Then I remember once I set up it was one of the first podcasts I did actually ages ago. I set up with an interview, and we actually did it in a hotel room with cameras, etc., etc., and I did it all an hour and a half, and then realised I didn't record any audio at all.
I know your feel. I know your pain because I've been there as well, and there's nothing. It's honestly just you. Sometimes you feel like crying, don't you?
I was so embarrassed. It was a professor as well.
Oh no!
Not a professor, a doctor, an actual doctor, yeah, I've never been as embarrassed in all my life. The technical side of things is definitely the worst when you're doing this sort of thing, because especially when you're as stupid as me, and I've got no patience with these things at all. And you say you've thrown a laptop across the room. I haven't thrown a computer or a laptop across the room, but I do throw pens and cups and glasses, etc., across the room. It's less and less now. I think I'm more level and more centered now and more zen than I was when I first started.
I was literally about to say the same thing. Yeah, that was a while ago. And as you learn to deal with the issues, you realise that actually people are actually quite understanding, and you don't have to worry as much as you think you do. And then all of a sudden, you're just like, well, shit happens at the end of the day.
My audience have been fantastic with me over the years. I mean, my Patreon, and basically what I survive on is what I've got from my patrons. You know, I get very little from YouTube advertisements anymore, because everything is demonetized. You know, because I'm talking about things that they don't want advertising on. They don't want advertising on things that where somebody's talking the truth, especially when it comes to war and sanctions, etc. So do you? You've got patrons as well, haven't you? You've got a patron page set up.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I used to do like different tiers and stuff, but because I'm so busy, it's actually quite difficult to keep up with perks and things like that. So now I only go $1 a month, and if you want to donate, that's absolutely amazing. I used to ask for it, but now I kind of like, I don't blame people for asking, because some people do need it. Because we're in this sort of sector, I believe that, in fact, I think that most people, if they want to ask about people donating, should be able to. I think it's naive of a lot of people out there who go, "Oh, you shouldn't be begging." Well, just shut the fuck up. Like, some people want to make this their job, and I think they should be allowed to try. So,
yeah,
do you know what I mean?
When I started, I mean, up until COVID, at the end of every video I asked. Up until COVID, when COVID hit, I said to my patrons, "Listen, you know, don't worry about me. Just sort yourselves out. If you can, great. If not, fine. I'm not going to take it any personal. You know, if you need that $5 or $1 a month, whatever it is, I totally understand it." And, you know, some people did, and other people went, "I really appreciate that," and actually became a patron as a result of it, strangely enough. But since COVID hit, I just haven't bothered, just simply because everybody's in the same
boat. Yeah.
You know, it's really weird. I was talking to my mum, and I was asking her about, you know, obviously because she's of the age where she'll remember the 50s and the building after the war, because obviously things were tight after the war. And I've got a feeling that things are going to be tight in the next year or two, especially, you know, with COVID and how the landscape is going to change. And I remember her saying that it was really weird because in the 50s, you know, people had ration books and there were queues for bread and stuff like that. But she said, we got by and everybody sort of came together in a really weird way. It's like the worst time in history was the war. And then after it, you sort of got a period where everything was actually, communities were actually starting to work with each other and build with each other, and you had a community spirit. And I really do believe as if that is what we're going to need going forward, to not just bounce back economy wise from the disaster that we've had over the last, year or two with COVID, and it was the economy was not doing well before that. No matter what they will tell you, Wall Street and that is not indicative of how people on the ground are actually, how much money people on the ground have got to spend. I'm babbling a little bit, I know. I'll get to my point, but I do think as if this community spirit is going to be something that is we're going to really need to rely upon in the coming years, and obviously people like yourself and your mum, you're going to be, I think, key to it, because you've got a lot of experience there that other people are going to want to extract, if that makes sense.
Yeah, kind of.
We're all going to need the way we eat and the supply chain of food, not just vegetables, not just meat, but also vegetables, not just processed meat, but also veg, because, I mean, most of our veg we actually get from abroad, believe it or not.
Yeah.
We're going to have to change this, and we're going to have to totally assess our supply chain for food, aren't we? You're in the industry. What do you think to that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I said earlier, it's going to be more people having to learn how to cook seasonally as well, which no one does nowadays at home, like you said. And as I mentioned earlier, you won't be able to go down to Tesco's and pick up a tomato, because most of them are grown in Spain or Italy, unless it's in season in the UK. So it's really odd concept in like cooking seasonally for people. And even myself, even though we're chefs and stuff, because we're so easy at getting the stuff readily available, like in the winter, you're pretty much only going to be able to eat some form of stew, because they'll only be like stewing vegetables and things like that. And then you change for the summer. That's why I think it's dramatically going to change in terms like that.
Yeah.
But that's only if it really, really does go to shit. I have a feeling it's going to get bad, but I don't think it will be that bad. Hopefully, fingers crossed, touch wood.
Fingers crossed it won't be. I can see it getting that way. Have you ever had a Chinese? Have you ever been to America and had a Chinese over there?
No, and I really want to go, and I want to vlog it with my mum, because I think it would be amazing us doing a little and trying their China, because they set the expats who live over there. They always go, it is not the same.
Shall I
we
tell
get a
you
massive. Why? They won't use MSG.
It's banned. It's banned in America. MSG. It's monosodium glutamate, isn't it? And I think Australia have just banned it as well, if I remember right. I think Australia banned it at the end of last year.
No, well, I did some research for my book about this. There's only one country in the world that has actually banned MSG, and that's Pakistan.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
so this is something I'm wrong about then.
It was one guy's reaction to a Chinese takeaway he had, and they blamed the MSG, but it's probably more likely he was allergic to peanut oil because of how his throat closed up. But yeah, it was banned in Pakistan. I had this argument with someone literally about 2 months ago on YouTube, and they're saying I'm a nurse and it's illegal to put MSG in food in Australia. So then I went on their government website and I said, well, as far as it says on your government website, it's absolutely fine to put into food products.
Really?
And I get it from Americans. It's banned here. No, it's not banned. Because
I've heard that from a couple of places. And I even heard that Australia were banning it last year. It was in December, I'm sure it was.
As far as I'm aware.
What is so bad about it? What do they say so bad about MSG? For those who don't, it's sort of like a flavour enhancer, and I put it in Chinese food, and it smells like a Chinese takeaway.
Yeah, that's what it is. People have this common misconception that it's bad for you, and that's because there was the 2019 Food Health and Safety Journal published a review of all literature that has ever been published on MSG, and they came up with the result that it's absolutely fine. There needs to be more testing done, but they also berated the scientific community for using doses that were so large that it was always going to elicit a negative response. And then they were like, but even these large doses, were very few studies that did actually have like negative outcomes to them. Most of the time, there was no actual real issue with it. And to put it into perspective, there were in doses of 5 to 15 grams per kilo body weight. If you,
okay, well, I'm 100 kilos, so that would be 50 to 150 grams.
Yeah, but a adult human will die if they have 3 grams per kilo body weight of salt in their system.
So is this the salt industry doing these studies and to try and kick MSG out? Because obviously, you know, you'll know, the more MSG you put in, the less salt I put in. That tends to be the way, you know, I do it. So whatever, if it calls for a teaspoon of salt, I'll generally put like 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt and 3/4 of a teaspoon of MSG in. Is that the way you do it?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. But I don't think it's
probably the salt. There's probably big salt that has done some lobbying over in America, then, isn't it? That's why it usually works.
It's a lot of scientists agree that it's well, there was poor research. So the original research, for example, was when replicated, never made the same results. They were always, so when they found out that MSG was damaging livers, they replicated the studies and found nothing of the sorts. And I think they replicated it like 7 or 8 times, and the original results were obviously either fabricated or their methodology was shit and they lied about it. But there's been a very consistent sort of theme running through MSG research. It's the most researched additive on the planet over the last 40 years. And less research has gone into fat, salt, and sugar, yet fat, salt, and sugar has been proven on many occasions to be worse, way worse than MSG has ever been. So it's like a holy grail. Scientists are going out there to try and find that it is bad for you, can't find anything. But because so many anecdotal evidence of people saying that they get headaches and stuff, they think that it has to be with the MSG. But the studies where they're double-blind tests show that there is no MSG sensitivity at all. Like when not one person could accurately, within certain tolerances, say that they could, in fact, sense that there was MSG in their food. And these are the people that walk around going, "Oh, I feel so faint."
Fucking Gillian McKeith.
Yeah, exactly. Precisely. And I personally think it's from the 70s and xenophobia from the Americans, precisely, for the Chinese community. A lot of scientists say that as well. It's not just.
I was actually going to bring that up almost flippantly and say, well, knowing the Americans, they'd probably attach something to do with communism and it's a racist thing. I was going to say that flippantly, and then you bring it up. It's so sad, that is, man. It really is. When are we going to learn to stop being racist pieces of shit?
It's ingrained in us. I think it's one of those things that it's maturity at the end of the day, isn't it? Because you normally find mega racists when they're in their 20s, 30s, get to their 60s and go, I was an idiot. I just didn't understand what I was angry at.
I can think of things when I was a kid, you know, a teenager especially, you know, especially when it comes to things like race and sexual orientation. I remember when I was a kid, Freddie Mercury died. And he died of AIDS, and he died of AIDS when obviously, you know, it was a gay disease, you know. I didn't know anything. I was a kid. I remember singing songs about. I was talking to my girlfriend about this the other day. I remember the Sun newspaper, when was it the Sun or it might have been the Sport or something like that. But I remember in the newspaper they had changed the words to Bohemian Rhapsody to, you know, be disparaging against Freddie Mercury being gay. For instance, the end of it, I won't sing the whole song or anything like that, but
yeah.
at the time I thought this was hilarious, Chin. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was hilarious. I was a 14-year-old kid. I didn't know any, young, dumb and full of cum. But it was, the end of it was, my arse is in tatters for free. You get the idea.
Yeah.
But that was in the newspaper. In a newspaper that you can buy on the shelf, and that was in my lifetime as well. So we have progressed quite a bit in the last 20-30 years with things like homophobia and racism, but there's still a long way to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's because like all that kind of stuff is in living memory. It's going to be difficult to eradicate, isn't it? Fully within our lifetimes. I reckon within our lifetimes is still be quite a large section of racists and homophobes out there.
Yeah, and at the same time, people should be allowed to make mistakes. I just been quite honest there about one of my mistakes when I was a kid. But I don't. How old are you? You've got to be in your 30s, probably, Chin, aren't you?
Yeah, well, turning 35 in December.
So, yeah, I'm about a decade older than you, and. The point I'm trying to make is people in my age group, we're sort of the last group of people not to have a permanent record on the internet. So, I mean, you might have been, you're sort of the last generation coming up. Everybody growing up now who has a Facebook account, etc., they will have a permanent record of whatever they do online now. So the reason I bring it up is, if I would have done now what I did when I was a teenager, with regards to, homophobic comment towards, Freddie Mercury, not knowing what I was talking about. Now, I'm much more likely to get cancelled than I would have back then. Back then, I could make a mistake. You can make a mistake. That's how you learn how to grow. Now I work, and this is going back to the point about social media as well. This is another worry that I have with it. You're not allowed to make a mistake anymore. And that's really worrying, especially for the young who, I made plenty. I don't know about you.
Oh, no, I made fuckloads. I've got, yeah.
I still do.
Yeah. No, and if, like you said, what we say now in 20 years' time, we get chastised for that when it was just a common vernacular of just anything. Do you know what I mean? It's difficult, and you are right. There should be some sort of leeway, but it depends on the intensity of that original comment.
And the intent as well.
Well, there is intent, but I mean, look, I can't really. I've never been in a situation or never had to judge anyone in that situation. Who has said something in the past on Facebook or whatever, and it's come to bite them in the ass. I do get what you mean by leeway. I really do get what you mean by that.
Yeah, at the same time, it's not necessarily me like making apologies for racist comments at all. I'm thinking, I recently read Edward Snowden's book, and he talks about this. He talks about the mistakes that he made when he was younger. They led him to be the better person that he is. That's how we learn. And if we, I don't know why I'm talking about this. I don't know how we got onto this, but I just think that we need to be able to make mistakes.
Interestingly, though, if let's say a neo-Nazi was like on social media, and then 20 years down the line, he was obviously like anti whatever he was in the past, he wouldn't get then chastised for stuff he said in the past about it.
This is how we grow, that's
what I know was that's an extreme example, but that's what you were saying. So yeah, I can understand that what you're saying, like past stuff is past stuff, but again, Yeah, it's just intensity and what you said, intense.
Yeah, obviously, if somebody's being a racist piece of shit and they're doing it on purpose, you know they're being a racist piece of shit. But there are other people that just make mistakes, and I do worry that we are in an environment at the moment, especially on social. I really can't. It's getting to the stage where I'm starting to back away from it a little bit and be almost scared of it. Chin, to be honest, I'm starting to think it's a bad thing, not a good thing at all.
Well, it's one of those things that has a lot of merits. I think it does have its place. It's just misused a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, like it's also being misused by the powers that be in the governments at the moment.
I was going to say, yeah, exactly. They go digging for stuff that they don't need to dig for because it doesn't matter anymore.
This is something that it goes to your point about the trolls. Often they are saying a comment to something that you've done just because they've gone looking for something to
get
stuff about. I see it all the time. People on Twitter retweeting things. Oh, look at this! How bad is this? It's like, come on, come on. Go and watch Zhang's Oriental Workshop. Go and watch some of their cooking. Get in your kitchen and start rolling your sleeves up and stop being an asshole on Twitter. That's what I say to those people.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. Is there anything you want to talk about, Jim, while you're here? I've had you, and I've been talking nonsense for over an hour. Is there anything you want to talk about while I'm here that we haven't touched on?
Let me think. Not really. I mean,
talk about anything you want, mate. Anything. Boris Johnson. We talk about him.
I really try not to talk about politics too much.
Don't talk about it. No, let's have this a politics-free podcast. It'll be my first ever, I think.
And I think it might be, judging from what I've seen. But the reason why I stick away from politics is because, and I think this is going back to what you were saying about why nowadays social media is so difficult. Is because, especially in our culture, if someone has an opposing opinion, they're automatically a twat rather than someone with an opposing opinion. Now, I can have an argument with someone and be absolutely fine with them literally the second the argument's over. Obviously, when I'm arguing, I'm heated about what I'm arguing about, but I know that doesn't define you as a person just because you think that way. And in fact, shutting that person off means you never give them a chance to change. And I really do think that that's part of the culture that you were talking about online, where people just go all in and they never, no matter what you say to someone, they're going to have a smart ass answer for it. And rather than just sit there and think, well, I'm a person, you're a person, let's just talk about this like civil people. It doesn't happen like that, does it?
There is something to the fact that, especially on social media and Facebook and Twitter and whatever, that most people wouldn't talk to you the way they talk to you on social media. If most people, let's face it, if most people, if they came up and said what they say to me in the street, I'd probably give them a smack in the mouth and they wouldn't do it. We've got to change. We've got to figure out a way to talk to each other rather than just talking at each other over social media. Otherwise, we're going to be in a real. We're going to struggle to just communicate, and I'm worried that. I'm worried that what this is leading to, Chin, is. I mean, you mentioned China and you mentioned how your ancestors, got away from communism. I'm worried that the way our governments now, obviously without getting political, they're trying to shut down free speech rather than have more speech. If somebody's got a bad idea, if somebody's got a bad ideology, if somebody's a Nazi, the way to react to that is to not let them speak at all and move them into a corner where they can go and be with other Nazis and that's all they ever talk about and it can grow and fester like that. Now, the way to do it, to combat that, is to say, no, that's not the way. This is the way to go forward, and here's why. It's to give the pros and the cons and actually have a conversation about the ideology and why it's bad, rather than just shunning it and try to shut it down, because that's when it's going to fester, isn't it? And that's the more authoritarian we become, the worse it's going to get. That's what worries me.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, people don't like to be silenced, do they? Regardless of whether you're a Nazi or not. And you're right. At the end of the day, if they feel that they're not going to get heard, that's when they start doing ridiculous shit to get heard. Because if you're not going to listen to me on in a platform in a council town hall somewhere, then I'm going to have to go marching down wherever, down to number 10, and I'm going to throw a petrol bomb over just to be heard. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, this is it is something that's going to be more. Chin, thanks very much for coming on the podcast, mate.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
I've really enjoyed talking to you. Please come on again, and we'll have a long chat again, and maybe next year or something after COVID's gone. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Anytime.